Hello, my name is Jay Christiansen, Health and Human Sciences educator with Purdue Extension in Bio County, and welcome to our next installment in our Food Prescription Program video series. Today, we're going to be talking about chronic disease prevention and tips to living our best and healthiest life. To get started, think of one word that describes why you want to learn more about chronic disease prevention. A few examples could include: you've been recently diagnosed with a chronic disease and want to learn more. You want to take steps to prevent chronic disease, or maybe you want to learn how to live a healthier lifestyle. Whatever your reason may be, write it down and reflect on it in the coming week. Another step to take in your prevention or management of chronic disease is to recognize and understand your risk for chronic disease. Does high blood pressure run in your family, or heart disease, or high cholesterol, or diabetes? If you are unable to answer any of these questions, find time during the next week or two and talk with your family members and identify your risk of developing chronic diseases due to your family history. Chronic diseases are health conditions that last 1 year or more and require ongoing medical attention. Chronic diseases such as heart disease, cancer, and diabetes are the leading cause of death and disability in the United States. Chronic diseases are among the most prevalent and costly health conditions in the United States. Nearly half of all Americans suffer from at least one chronic condition, and that number continues to grow. Common examples of chronic diseases include cancer, diabetes, hypertension or high blood pressure, stroke, heart disease, obesity, chronic respiratory diseases, arthritis, and asthma. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, more than 2/3 of the deaths in the United States are the result of chronic diseases. And also, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, 90% of the nation's $3.5 trillion in annual healthcare expenditures are for people with chronic conditions. 7 out of the 10 leading causes of death are associated with chronic diseases. Chronic diseases, like we've already mentioned, like heart disease, cancer, respiratory disease, and stroke, are among the leading causes of death for Americans. The leading two, heart disease and cancer, account for nearly of all deaths annually. The good news is that many of the chronic diseases that we are discussing today are among the most preventable health problems in the United States. By eating well, being physically active, avoiding tobacco and excessive drinking, and getting regular health screenings can help to prevent chronic diseases. So let's get started. Today, we are going to discuss the 3 major chronic diseases: heart disease, cancer, and diabetes. The term heart disease refers to several types of heart conditions. The most common type is coronary artery disease, which can cause heart attacks. Other kinds of heart disease may involve the valves in the heart, or that the heart may not pump well and cause heart failure. Do you know what the most common cause of heart disease is? Atherosclerosis is the most common cause of heart disease and is depicted in the picture on the slide. As plaque builds up in the arteries, the inside of the arteries begin to narrow, which lessens or blocks the flow of blood. This condition develops when plaque builds up in the walls of the arteries, causing arteries to become blocked. The narrowing of the arteries makes it harder for blood to flow. When it does, a blood clot can form on the plaque, blocking the flow of blood. In the United States, someone has a heart attack every 40 seconds. Additionally, one person dies every 37 seconds in the United States from cardiovascular disease. Heart disease is the leading cause of death for most racial and ethnic groups in the United States. More than 647,000 Americans die each year from heart disease. That's 1 in every 4 deaths. Heart disease is a leading cause of death for both men and women and people of most racial and ethnic groups in the United States. Every year, about 805,000 Americans have a heart attack. Of these, 605,000 are first-time heart attacks, and 200,000 happen to people who already had a heart attack. Cardiovascular disease claims more lives each year than all forms of cancer and chronic lower respiratory diseases combined. In Indiana, heart disease is a leading cause of death for both men and women. Indiana has the 13th highest death rate from cardiovascular disease in the country and has a hypertension rate or high blood pressure of 35.2%. From 2014 to 2016 in Vigo County, our heart disease death rate was 460 per 100,000. At least 200 deaths each year from cardiovascular disease could be prevented, according to a 2013 Centers for Disease Control and Prevention report. Several health conditions, our lifestyle, age, and family history can increase our risk for heart disease. Some risk factors for heart disease cannot be controlled, such as our age or family history. We can take steps to lower our risk by changing the factors that we can control. High blood pressure, high blood cholesterol, and smoking are 3 key risk factors for heart disease. About half of all Americans have at least one of these 3 risk factors. Several other medical conditions and lifestyle choices can put people at a higher risk for heart disease, including diabetes, being overweight, an unhealthy diet, physical activity, inactivity, excessive alcohol use, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and high blood pressure. Prevention is important, and each of us can take charge of our health. By choosing to live a healthy lifestyle, we can decrease our risk for heart disease. What healthy habits can you make? Examples may include choosing healthy foods and drinks, keeping a healthy weight, getting regular physical activity, not smoking, checking and knowing our cholesterol and blood pressure. If we have diabetes, proper management is important. And lastly, ask your doctor for help. Each year in the United States, more than 1.6 million people are diagnosed with cancer, and nearly 600,000 people die from it, making it the second leading cause of death. Risk factors may include smoking, obesity, or getting too much UV radiation. The cost of cancer continues to rise and is expected to reach almost $174 billion by this year. Steps to preventing cancer may include not using tobacco, protecting our skin from the sun, having a healthy diet, maintaining a healthy weight, being physically active, knowing our family's medical history, and getting regular cancer screens. The last major chronic disease we will cover is diabetes. Diabetes is the 7th leading cause of death in the United States. In the last 20 years, the number of adults diagnosed with diabetes has more than doubled as the American population has aged and become more overweight. Diabetes is a chronic condition that affects how your body turns food into energy. If you have diabetes, your body doesn't either make enough insulin or can't use the insulin that it makes as well as it should. When there isn't enough insulin or cells to stop responding to insulin, too much blood sugar stays in your bloodstream. Diabetes increases the risk of heart disease and stroke and can lead to other serious complications such as kidney disease, blindness, and nerve damage. The risk of death for adults with diabetes is 50% higher than for people without diabetes. The cost of diabetes. People spend more on healthcare. People with diabetes, spend more on healthcare than people without diabetes. People who have diabetes have fewer productive years than people without diabetes. And people who have diabetes miss more work days than people without diabetes. As we look at the costs associated with diabetes, in 2017, it was found that $237 billion in direct medical costs were associated with diabetes and 90 billion in reduced productivity, which equals $327 billion. So who is at risk for diabetes? People who have prediabetes, people who are overweight, 45 years or older, have a parent or sibling who has diabetes, are physically inactive, certain races or ethnicities, gestational diabetes. We'll next talk a little bit about prediabetes. 84 million American adults have prediabetes. That's more than 1 out of 3. And 90% don't know they have prediabetes. With prediabetes, blood sugar levels are higher than normal, but not high enough to be diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Generally, people who get type 2 diabetes start out with prediabetes. But the good news is prediabetes can be reversed. Prediabetes is really a wake-up call to turn things around and get healthier and not get type 2 diabetes down the road. You can get a simple blood sugar test to find out if you have prediabetes. As mentioned just a moment ago, the good news is that prediabetes can be reversed. By losing a small amount of weight, getting regular physical activity, and eating healthy, all can help and will cut our risk of developing type 2 diabetes in half. You can find prediabetes risk assessments that may include the following questions to see if you are at risk for prediabetes. Do you have a mother, father, sister, or brother with diabetes? Have you ever been diagnosed with high blood pressure? How old are you? What race or ethnicity best describes you? Are you physically active? How tall are you? As we've talked about the 3 chronic diseases we have mentioned today, cancer, heart disease, and diabetes, I wanted to take just a moment of things that we can look for as far as risk factors for each of these 3 lists on the screen. As mentioned already, risk factors for cancer can include smoking, exposure to sun or tanning beds, being overweight, not getting enough exercise or physical activity, and excessive alcohol use. For heart disease, risk factors may include high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, smoking, being overweight, having an unhealthy diet, and being physically inactive. In the last health condition, diabetes, the risk factors may include prediabetes, being overweight, not getting enough exercise, smoking, and having an unhealthy diet. But there are steps, like we have mentioned, that we can take to prevent and decrease our risk of developing the chronic diseases that we've talked about so far today. It's important that we get 150 minutes of physical activity each week. Physical activity is one of the best things people can do to improve their health. It is vital for healthy aging and can reduce the burden of chronic diseases and prevent early death. Keeping our weight in a healthy range is important. Individuals who are at a healthy weight are less likely to develop chronic diseases. Following a healthy eating pattern includes eating lots of fruits and vegetables. Good nutrition is essential in keeping current and future generations of Americans healthy across our lifespan. If we smoke, one of the best things that we can do is quitting. Stopping smoking lowers the risk of serious health problems such as heart disease, cancer, type 2 diabetes, and lung disease, as well as premature death, even for longtime smokers. It's also important that we get screened. Check with our doctor about preventative screenings that we can take. We can also avoid too much alcohol. And lastly, it's important that we know our family history. Knowing and acting on our family health history is an important way to protect our health. Collect your family health history and share it with your doctor at your next visit. Your doctor can use it to develop a more complete picture of your health and your risk factors for chronic diseases. Together, you can work on ways to reduce that risk. As we wrap up our presentation today, it's time to think about some next steps that we can take to live a healthier lifestyle and decrease our risk of developing chronic diseases. Let's identify practical solutions that will help you achieve your health goals. First, identify your starting point. More importantly, where do you want to go? What goals do you want to achieve as it relates to your health and wellness? Second, many people try different things when it comes to healthy eating, but it is important to find what works best for you. Make a healthy eating plan by choosing healthy foods and stick to it. Third, set a physical activity goal that works for you. Strive for 30 minutes, 5 days a week. And last, track your progress. How will you monitor your progress as you work towards achieving your health goals? For more information about Purdue Extension and the programs and events we offer in our community, we encourage you to visit our website at extension.purdue.edu/Vigo or visit us at our Facebook page, Purdue Extension, Vigo County.